How you feeling? Has the COVID affected you? Are you feeling okay? Like last week, you
I'm
were a freaking trooper. Like we recorded for ages, and you did it, man. Like you did better than
yeah,
me.
I'm feeling. It's been a difficult week. I felt very like foggy.
Yeah.
And like I can't like on Friday I tried to remember what I'd done on Monday and I couldn't remember Monday at all. It
God.
had just gone from my head. Yeah, but I'm feeling better now. But I do generally I start to feel fatigued at the moment about halfway through the day. Um,
Wow.
like today at about 12, I suddenly started feeling really tired. I've got another week of work and then I can rest a bit more effectively.
Sweet potato pie. Cool.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. Should we start?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Is it episode 39,
39,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Well, no, that was rubbish.
Hi, everyone. Come on, you don't have COVID anymore.
Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, Georgia and Alex.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to Culture
Sorry.
Bucket,
Do it again.
episode 39. Alex is talking over the intro, but that's fine. I'm going to keep going as if she hasn't done that.
Do it again.
Episode 39, our top 5 Tarantino films today. That's what we're counting down later on. But before we do that, we'll be doing our usual culture catch-up and homework. And I can't do it on my own, so the voice that you're hearing shouting over me is the voice of our co-host, Alex. Hi, Alex.
Hi, George. Hi, everyone. Everyone. Hi, George.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Every time I edit the podcast, there's me like screaming, and it's really hard to edit. So I'm gonna say, "Hi, George. Hi, everyone. How are you, George?"
I'm good. I'm a week further on since we last recorded, and when I had just gotten to the end of my COVID symptom period. Now I'm a week into not having COVID, and I'm still very tired, but it's fine.
Poor George.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm nervous about tonight. Tonight, there's the final of the European Cup, and it's gonna be England versus Italy. Yeah. Who do I support? I don't know.
Well, you could be optimistic and just view it that whoever wins, you're a winner. Italy have won it loads of times, though. I want the underdog to win.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it next week to see who's winning and how they won.
Okay,
Yeah.
but if England don't win, I'm not talking about it next week.
Why? Don't even care about football.
I care about this. I'm allowed to choose what I care about, and I care about this. I tend to get interested in international football. I watched the World Cup with you when we lived in Japan. You remember that?
Oh, we did.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, how did England do then?
I think Croatia. I think that was one where Croatia knocked us out in earlier on than we'd have liked.
Yeah.
But that was the first. I think that was the first time I remember people getting around Gareth Southgate and stuff. And he seems to have built a good squad. So this is the even if we lose tonight, it's the furthest England has ever gotten in a big tournament in like 55 years. So
yeah,
it's all good vibes.
Yeah, and Italy wins all the time.
Yeah,
they're good.
Yeah, Italy are great at football, so you don't need to. let us have this.
Yeah, but I think about like rugby. You know, England wins rugby all the time.
Oh, but I don't. Nobody cares about rugby.
And
we've got a rubbish, stupid government, and they suck. And it would be nice to have a nice thing for once. It would be nice to have a nice thing to be happy about.
Yeah.
The kids I work with are really excited about it. That's the thing I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Rather than any of the negative aspects of English culture, because they're certainly there.
And you're playing a great team. Italy is a fantastic team to play.
Yeah, you've got that really tall guy. I love him. Cardellini or something. I don't know.
What's his name?
Linda Cardellini? I don't know.
I don't know.
He's like quite an old player. He's like in his late 30s.
Ah, yeah,
He's tall.
Chiellini. Chiellini's like the oldest
There
player
you go.
in the team, and then all the rest are quite new. It's quite a nice squad, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
because it was used to be like a squad of like protagonist players, and this time they seem like they're young and they're cute and they seem to be good. So I think it's going to be a good match to watch.
Good. So let's talk about pop culture because I'm lost talking about that's all the sports I can handle.
This is culture catch-up time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture catch-up time.
You went first last week, so I'm going first this week.
Yos.
Yep. I'm going to talk about a TV show, an album, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 films. Isn't that exciting?
I'm in
So
the edge of
first
my
of all,
seat.
yeah, this week, on Tuesday of this week, I was beyond excited for the premiere of season 2 of I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
The Netflix original comedy sketch show that I made you watch a few weeks ago on a free homework.
Yeah. I watched an episode as well this week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Which episode did you
I
watch?
watched the first episode this week.
Okay, so that we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I was so excited for the premiere for this coming up on Netflix. I rewatched all of the first series the week before it started, and I absolutely love it. And I think season 2, it doesn't have as many songs in it as the first season did, which is slightly disappointing me.
Yeah.
But it has some incredibly funny sketches, again, which I keep thinking about and keep making me laugh, which has been good this week. What sketches are in the first episode? The hot dog. The guy eating the hot dog at lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah. I guess.
What are you doing?
Oh, I found the first episode really hard to watch. Like, I think
Why?
he's gone a little bit further, and so I was just like, I don't know, I just felt it was really cringy.
It's a little bit cringy, but I don't know. I think it's really funny. Like the turns of phrase he uses, the way he describes things, and like does the first episode have the prank show sketch where he's dressed up in all that makeup?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just starts going, "We did too much.
Yeah.
And then he just ends with him just being like, "I don't want to be around anymore." It's just such an odd. It's just the way he writes little turns of phrase make me laugh so much. And the coffin flop sketch, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and there's a sketch where they're like an office party and they're all these kids with like suits that they makes them look buff.
Oh, the little buff boys
The
competition.
little buff boy I just it just made no sense.
That's why it's funny. It makes no sense. The whole joke in that sketch is that he brings the boss up, and the boss is just like, "I don't understand why I'm here.
Yeah.
Or why all these boys are here in little like strongman suits,
Yeah.
goose suits. It's a circus term. You should stick with it and watch. I don't know. For me, it's one of the most rewatchable comedies. Like I can watch episodes, especially because the episodes are so short, they're like 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
I can just watch them over and over again and find like little new turns of phrase and things in there to make me laugh. I think it's really clever. Comedy. So yeah, no, I love it. It's a big recommendation for me. The second season of I Think You Should Leave. Maybe overall not quite as good as the first season, but it'll be hard to. That first season is so funny that it's hard to top it, but it's pretty good. Next up, Modest Mouse, popular American indie rock band, had a massive hit in the early noughties with Float On. Did you ever listen to that, Alex?
Sing it for me.
Oh, we all float on. I can't.
I have
I'm
no idea.
going. I think you'd know "Float On" if you heard it.
Yeah.
It's it's a pretty big song. And then like so they did that album in like 2004, 2005, I think. And then that was like their fifth fourth album. I think it was their fourth album, but it was their first really big album.
Mm.
And then the album they did after that was called We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank, and Johnny Marr from the Smiths was a member of the band during that album. So they've had an interesting career, but bringing Johnny Marr in for an album and then letting him go. And then after that, that was in sort of like the late noughties when I was just sort of getting into music, and I really got into those two Modest Mouse albums in particular. And then they just vanished for years. They came back in 2016 with an album whose name I don't even remember. Strangers to Ourselves, I think it was called. And it got didn't get great reviews, and I kind of was not really in the Modest Mouse zone anymore at that point, so I didn't listen to it. But then they've just put out a new album called The Golden Casket, and I'd heard, my brother told me and I've read online from a few other places that it was kind of a bit of a return to form and a return to their days of Float On and stuff, so I put the new Modest Mouse album on, and it is brilliant. I really, really like it. It's got really good... The lead singer, Isaac Brock, has got a really distinctive, kind of quite a gruff voice that's really good for indie rock. And the songs seem to be built from all sorts of sound templates, not just like your traditional instruments. But he has a really good ear for hooks and melody, and it all sort of like, however experimental it gets, it all kind of gets pulled together into great kind of indie rock tracks. The lead single, We Are Between, is a really fun song, and then the album itself has got plenty of like weird left turns on it. There's a song called Transmitting Receiving on there, which is brilliant, and yeah, it's great. So The Golden Casket by Modest Mouse is a big recommendation if you're one of those people who listen to Float On a lot in the mid-noughties and put it on all your playlists. Then it might be time to revisit Modest Mouse a little bit, as I've been doing. So yeah. After that, let's see, I'm going to talk about 4 films that I watched. And they're all pretty big films. So get ready, sit down, strap yourself in. Alex, I went to the cinema to see the first new Marvel film in 2 years, Black Widow.
Oh, how exciting!
Yes, indeed it is. You haven't watched it yet, have you?
No, I don't.
No.
I don't even know what life is anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean it's on Disney Plus, but it's one of those annoying you have to pay for it.
Oh,
things.
is it? When did it come out?
Yeah, it's like
I didn't
Premier
see it.
Access. It came out 2 days ago. It came out on Friday.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I have had a busy old weekend, so I went to see it at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning because it was the only time I could fit it in, and I really wanted to see it before the podcast so that I could talk about it.
Oh.
It's an odd movie. It's the first solo Black Widow film starring Scarlett Johansson. Due to events in the film Avengers Endgame, it can't be set in the kind of current present day chronology of the Marvel films, so it's set slightly awkwardly between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, because there's a gap there where that character of Black Widow it wasn't clear where she was or what she was doing, so they sort of fill in that gap and send her on this adventure. And it's had a few sniffy reviews, and a lot of them seem to be around the fact that from the start where that character's journey ends up ending. So it makes it hard to get invested in the film. Is the negative reviews I've read of the film, and it's kind of a fair comment, but it's Marvel returning to the sort of espionage style of film, like Captain America: Winter Soldier, which we saw together in the cinema many years ago. Yeah, and I'm a huge Bond film fan, and I love those kind of espionage, the Bourne films, all of those kind of spy thrillers. I'm really into. So them doing that again, I'm really here for. I didn't like the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show, and that was I was a bit worried that they'd lost it in terms of that, because they have the fantasy stuff with Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch and stuff and Loki, and they have the sci-fi stuff with Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's the more traditional superhero stuff like Spider-Man, and then Black Widow and Captain America was sort of carving out this corner of like espionage spy thrillers. And the fact I didn't like Falcon and Winter Soldier worried me a bit for Black Widow. But my fears were unfounded because I thought Black Widow was incredible. It became quite quickly one of my favourite Marvel movies. You know how much I like Scarlett Johansson.
Oh.
But she's joined she's joined in this movie by somebody who I like even more. My very favourite actress in the entire world.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh playing Yelena. Natasha Romanoff's sort of familial sister. And the film is about them reconnecting, and that family that Black Widow had before she joined the Avengers kind of reconnecting, including Rachel Weisz playing her mother figure, and David Harbour from Stranger Things and being married to Lily Allen, being her father figure, playing the Red Guardian. And Florence Pugh is great in this movie. Rachel Weisz, who is a fine actress, not somebody I'm particularly... I don't want to disparage her at all, because she's a good actress, but I generally don't get particularly interested when I see that she's in a movie, if you see what I mean. She's just not one of the actors that I particularly care about, but she's really good in this. David Harbour is hilarious and fantastic in this movie. But yeah, Florence Pugh completely steals it. She's very, very funny, and just brilliant. Obviously she is, because she's Florence Pugh. She's the absolute best. Scarlett Johansson knows that this is probably maybe her last time playing this character, really, and makes the most of it, and is brilliant in it as well. Ray Winston is in there as a villainous Russian agent, and he is
amazing.
He's great. He despite playing a Russian, he does still kind of just sound like Ray Winston, which is pretty funny. But he does a good enough job. The classic Marvel villain Taskmaster is in there as somebody that they come up against quite a lot, and I think they do Taskmaster fairly well. And it's just a really entertaining film. There's a scene early on where Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, is watching an old Roger Moore James Bond film while she's having dinner, and you can really see that sort of they've really tried to make a great spy movie, and taken a lot of kind of cues from the Bond films, including hiring the wife of Daniel Craig, Rachel Weisz, to be in the movie, even. And yeah, it's great. It's really, really good. I loved it. I think that it's easy to be a little bit sniffy about it, considering, you can say it took them too long to make a Black Widow film and all of these things, and it's being used to introduce characters like Florence Pugh's Yelena. But ultimately, I think if you can just see it as a standalone thing and watch it on its own merit, it's a great, fun, wonderful espionage thriller. And it's Marvel movies being back in the cinema, and we're going to have 3 more of them this year. We've got Shang-Chi in September, we've got the Eternals in I think November, and then Spider-Man Far From Home in December. So there's a lot more Marvel coming if this one doesn't
Far From Home
float your boat, as well as the
another one.
Yeah, the third Spider-Man movie is coming out.
Yeah, but it's called
Spider-Man
Far From
3.
Home.
Yeah.
The other one was called Far From Home.
No, sorry, you're right, I've misspoken. It's called No Way Home.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just I'm pretty sure.
Because they've all got, no. It's confusing because they've sort of arbitrarily decided that every film needs to have the word home in the subtitle.
Homecoming, Far
So
From
it's
Home.
Homecoming, Far From Home,
Going Home.
and now No Way Home.
Home Alone.
No Way Home. Home Alone. Spider-Man Home Alone.
Spider-Man Home Alone.
Spider-Man Homer Simpson. Yeah, but it was great. Really good. Next up, I watched...
There's No Place Like Home.
That would be... That should be a good title.
That would be a good title.
Yeah.
It's just Spider-Man being at home for 2 hours. Because he's broken his leg or something.
Moving on from Marvel to Fear Street. I talked last week about the first film in Netflix's Fear Street trilogy, 1994. So it's a week later, so the second film, part 2, 1978, has come out, and I watched it on Friday evening. So the first film was set in 1994. It introduced the main characters and the world of these 2 towns of Sunnyvale, which is meant to be the kind of prosperous, rich, wealthy town, and Shadyside, which is meant to be the sort of cursed town where many killings happen, and etc. And the first film told a story about a group of teenagers fighting against the spirit of this witch, Sarah Fear, who was kind of creating slasher-style monsters that were going after them. And it was very kind of, because it was set in the 90s, there was lots of needle drops of 90s music in there, and it had a very Scream vibe overall, and was obviously really going for that kind of feel. The second one is bookended by sequences set in 1994, but goes back to, for the main chunk of it, 1978, to tell the story of the last person to survive these killings and murders. And you've got more Netflix kind of alumni in there. Gillian Jacobs is in this one, along with the actress that plays Max in Stranger Things. So yeah, so this one, if this one is set entirely at a summer camp, Camp Nightwing, which is where all the Shadyside people and the Sunnyvale people send their children during the summer. It's set in 1978 and it's set in a summer camp, so the obvious touchstone immediately is Friday the 13th, and it takes a lot from that movie, but also other kind of classic summer camp horror movies like Sleepaway Camp. There's definitely some Sleepaway Camp vibes in there, along with other stuff, and it similar to the first part, it's filled with just an unbelievable amount of popular songs being dropped into scenes. There's like 3 or 4 David Bowie songs in there.
Nice.
There's Cherry Bomb by the Runaways is in there quite a bit. There's just a ton of songs. And I kind of like that. They almost overdo it, but it's okay. I'm very fascinated to see the third part, which is going to be set in 1666, because there is no pop music from that era that they can drop into the film. So I don't know. It might change the entire feel of the movie. We'll have to see. I felt like part 2, 1978, was not quite as good as the first part, which I thought was really decent. I'd kind of secretly hoped that the second part would build on the first part and be a little bit better, but I think they've dropped in quality very slightly. For me, there's an issue with the sense of place hasn't really been properly established, in my opinion, in the world in this trilogy they're doing. They go on about these two towns, Sunnyvale and Shadyside, but you don't really ever meet anyone from those places other than kind of this core small group of characters, and it ends up feeling, I don't know, as a result, a bit more like a TV show, and it does feel like a Netflix TV show that's just being done in like 90-minute or 2-hour-long episodes rather than hour-long episodes where you're really just focused on the story and the characters rather than building out a world around those characters, which is what you normally get from like a feature-length film. And for me, the second movie suffers slightly in that regard because it tries to have this whole thing about Sunnyside v Shady. No, Sunny. I can't even remember the names because they're so similar. Sunnyvale v Shadyside. They have like a color war where the Shadysiders are all wearing blue and the Sunnyvale people are all wearing red, and it kind of the climax of the film is set during this competition, but you never really get the sense that anything is happening beyond the main kind of handful of characters you're following around, which is a bit of a pity. It takes a very, very long time for the actual horror stuff to kick in and for the killings to start. And once they do kick in, they're suitably gory and fun to watch. And, it does all that. It hits all those beats quite well. It just hits them slightly too late. And as a result, the film is about 20 minutes longer than it needs to be. And considering they've got bookends at the start and end, obviously, set in the present day or 1994 era, and then they've got an entire summer camp horror movie in the middle, you do end up with a film that just feels a little bit bloated, which is a pity, and it doesn't contribute that much to the overall story of the trilogy. It feels like it just feels a bit like they wanted to do 3 films, so here's the middle film. I still quite liked it. I gave it 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It's a fun time, but it's not quite as good or fresh as the first one. I've heard good things about the third one, and it's set in, the third one is a setting that's not used as often as in horror movies, so they have a bit more room maybe to do their own thing and be a bit more original, which I'm excited to see, how that all looks. So I'll update you next week on part 3, 1666. But slightly down on part 2. Then I went to the cinema on last week to see Fast and Furious 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the 9th Fast and Furious movie.
I don't think
finally
I've
we
seen
find out.
No, I haven't seen any.
You've not seen any of them?
I
I mean,
don't
I
think so.
really like them. They're very. They start like the Fast and the Furious. The very first one is basically a remake of Point Break.
Yeah.
With Paul Walker in the Keanu Reeves role and Vin Diesel in the Patrick Swayze role, and that is literally and the substitute surfing for illegal street racing, and robbing banks for robbing DVD players from the backs of trucks. But once you made all those substitutions, the rest of the film is basically exactly the same as Point Break. And it's a really fun, early noughties kind of film, but it's mad to think that it has spawned this franchise that 20 years later has produced a movie where they are flying a car into space in this film. They attach a rocket
Oh my
engine to a
goodness.
car and they drive it
Okay.
into space.
Yeah.
Because there's a satellite that they need to stop, and their solution is to drive a car into the
Wow.
satellite. So it's completely unhinged. Like, they've completely lost any sense of reality now in these films. And in a way, if you can go with that, you will have a good time with it.
Okay.
I mean, you're already kind of agreeing to a lot when you accept that it's possible for John Cena to be the biological brother of Vin Diesel.
Well, if they don't like, I guess if they have different mothers or fathers.
Possibly. Well, that in the film it makes it very clear they're supposed to have the same father.
Okay.
So
But-
they're paternal brothers. Maybe they have different mothers, but they look very different.
Yeah, but I guess if they have like a different parent, especially if they have a different parent.
Yeah. I mean, there's which opens up the door for a whole probably 4 more movies of backstory to cover.
Oh my goodness.
To cover the mother's side of the family, but this film is all about basically Dominic Toretto's brother, played by Vin Diesel, or Dominic Toretto is Vin Diesel. His brother turns up, played by John Cena, in possession of a device that will allow him to control the entire world's. This is a movie series that started just so we can go back and be clear. The first film is about stealing video players from trucks.
Yeah.
And this film is about stopping John Cena from activating a device that will allow him to control the entire globe's supply of
Is it not supposed to be
advanced
about
military
cars?
weapons.
Is it not supposed to be
Well,
about...
they solve so
Like,
they
it's about cars.
they solve all these. Yeah, but like I said, they solve all the problems with cars. There's a satellite which is going to transmit the signal, so the solution is to fly a car into it. That's sort of where we're at. But I mean, this film has got, so you got Vin Diesel's in there,
Yeah.
John Cena's in there, Michelle Rodriguez is in there, Jordana Brewster, and then you've got people like Helen Mirren turns up for a scene because she just likes these films and she wanted to be. So Helen Mirren is in this film.
No.
Yeah,
so
Helen
cool.
Mirren's in there, and Cardi B turns up for about 2 minutes. I'm trying to remember. There's definitely more sort of cameos and people appearing, but yeah, Helen Mirren's definitely a big one. Jason Statham, who's been in the films before and starred in one of the spin-offs, he pops up briefly. A character who died on camera comes back, and they decide that he's alive again. Kurt Russell is in it for a while.
Nice.
It's a fun time. So ultimately, Fast and Furious 9 for me was like a mid-tier Fast and Furious movie. It doesn't have the tightness of like Fast 5, which is the best film in the franchise. But it doesn't have like it's not boring like, say, the 4th movie Fast and Furious is, in my opinion. So it's sort of right there. It's right there in the middle. It's got good, exciting action. It's probably a little bit too long. It has probably one too many scenes of Vin Diesel insisting that family is the most important thing in the world, when clearly what he really believes is that driving cars into trucks is the most important thing. But if you've seen the others, you're going to enjoy this one. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the others, it would be weird to start at number 9. But do go back and I think doing a run through of the Fast and Furious movies is a good idea for anyone, because it does, just seeing the journey these movies go on from truck heists to going to space is such a fascinating evolution. It is one of the most interesting movie franchises. Anyway, moving on. The last film I'm going to talk about is the 2021 Oscar winner for Best International Film, Another Round, directed by Thomas Vinterberg and starring Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen.
It is
your favourite.
Mads Mikkelsen, I do love him. He's great. And this is him reteaming with the director of The Hunt, which I talked about in my favourite international films episode, many months ago. So they've come back together for a film that's a bit more light-hearted than The Hunt, which is a very hard-going film. Another Round is a film about a group of 4 secondary school teachers or high school teachers in Denmark who have become a little bit, particularly Mads Mikkelsen's character, have become a little bit sort of set in their ways, a little bit boring, a little bit dull, and are just sort of coasting through life. And one day they start talking about this, one of them starts talking about this Swedish, I think, philosopher's idea that all humans are born with a blood alcohol content that is 0.5% too low, and that to truly succeed in life, you should keep your blood alcohol content at 0.5%.
Is this real? Because
So they,
that's pretty cool.
I think that is a real. I think the director of this movie read about that idea, and it inspired the film. So the characters in the movie decide to do a social experiment and don't not tell anyone outside of their immediate bubble of the 4 of them, but decide to do this experiment where they will adjust their blood alcohol content in the style of Ernest Hemingway, only drinking during the day and then stopping at 8 p.m. in the evening so that they're ready to go the next day. And it's interesting, initially Mads Mikkelsen starts teaching much better lessons, starts being more open. Obviously, he's sneaking glugs of vodka in the toilet in the morning and stuff like that. And then they start to push it and they see, well, what will happen if we go to 1%, 1.5%? What will happen if we push our blood alcohol content as high as it can go? And you start to see the negative effects coming in. But I think what's interesting in this film is it's not a kind of morality play. It's not a film from the 30s. It's not advocating prohibition. It definitely shows the darker side of alcohol consumption and the dangers of alcoholism. It's not a film that is being not immoral, but what's the word? Irresponsible in any way. I think it's showing how dangerous it can be to rely on alcohol, but equally it is celebrating life and celebrating kind of the reason that people do drink socially and drink casually and drink to responsible degrees. There's a reason for that, and it's because it does loosen people up and make people a bit happier. And in moderation, it can be a positive thing. Whether you think that moderation includes keeping it permanently at 0.5% is another thing. But it's a fascinating, interesting film. I really enjoyed seeing a film that centers around alcohol in this way, but doesn't just portray it as being something that destroys lives. That definitely happens in the movie. That's covered, but it also shows kind of the positives and the benefits of enjoying a drink now and then, kind of thing. It has probably one of the top 5 best endings I've ever seen to a film, if we're going to start going there at some point. Not necessarily a final shot, but like the last 5 minutes of this film are beautiful and perfect and wonderful, and I just absolutely love them. And I was going to give this film about 4.5 stars on Letterboxd, and then in those last 5 minutes it pushed it up to a perfect 5 out of 5 because I just thought it was incredible the way it wraps itself up. The director's daughter convinced him to make the movie, and she died during production very tragically and sadly, and he kind of readjusted the movie to make it be more of a celebration of life in honor of his daughter, and I think that he pulled it off and did an amazing job, and it's such a good film and everyone should watch it. Another Round is a masterpiece.
Sounds great.
So yeah, it is. It's brilliant. As soon as it turns up on streaming services, as soon as it becomes a widely available film, anyone listening, check it out. It's great. It's absolutely brilliant. And that's me done.
Well, sounds amazing, G.
Yeah. So yeah, watch Another Round, watch Black Widow, check out the other 2 if you're interested. So, what have you been up to in the past week?
What have I been up to? So, I'm going to talk about a series and 2 films, a documentary, and an album release.
Lovely.
Of Spotify tells me, and I listen. So, enjoy. The series I'm gonna...
Before very quickly before you, sorry to cut you off, and this isn't really relevant to much other than, did you see that Dave just announced his second album?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so Dave's second album is out really soon. It's out on the 23rd of this month.
How exciting.
So just something I thought you'd be interested in. It popped into
Definitely,
my head. So,
100%.
new Dave album. coming soon.
Yakupacento.
And he's got a new. There's a new song, single that I've not listened to much with Stormzy called "Crash." I think.
Oh,
So-
okay. Oh, very excited. Very excited.
So sorry to cut you off there. Carry on.
No, it's okay. So Instagram informed me that the third season of Atlanta is coming out. And is this series created and written by Donald Glover. And I realized that I watched only like a few episodes of the first season, and at the moment it's on Disney Plus, which is a very good thing.
Yeah.
And so I watched the both series, waiting for the third one. Yeah. And I started it again. So I already watched a few episodes of the first season, but I thought I'll watch them again. And the entire season is based in Atlanta, and Ern, played by Donald Glover, is a college dropout, and his life is not really going great. He's got a daughter with a girl that is his girlfriend, not his girlfriend. You figure out in the two seasons how complicated their relationship is. They never really define what they are.
Is it Zazie Beetz that plays his girlfriend?
Zazie Beetz, probably one of the most beautiful humans in this world.
She's wonderful. She's in. You've seen Joker, haven't you?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, have you not seen Joker?
No.
Oh, she's in Joker, and she's very, very good in it.
And she's
I
wonderful.
think she's great.
Like every time she's in, she's just wonderful. And his cousin.
Oh, and Deadpool too. She's in. Sorry.
And Deadpool. Oh my goodness! Like, stop interrupting me. Best side.
Sorry.
Deadpool 2.
Sorry.
Deadpool 2. I need to watch that as well. Actually, I do really like her.
She's
I
good
think
in that
she's
as
really
well.
Good. Yeah. But yeah, going back. Anything else you would like to say, George?
Lakeith Stanfield is pretty good.
Yeah, you're such a dick. And so his cousin Alfred, played by Brian Terry Henry, and he's Alfred, but also Paperboy, his rapper name, has just released a song, and Ern wants to manage him, and he tries his best to manage him, but Paperboy, Alfred doesn't really trust him that much because Ern, I don't know, he's a bit maybe self-destructive, not assertive enough. Well, you don't really know. You kind of learn with the series. And also, like G said before, Lakeith Stanfield is in it, playing Darius, probably my favorite character. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him in everything, but I love him in this series. So it's basically set in Atlanta, and they face new stardom for Alfred. It concentrates on relationships and status, parenthood, a little bit of everything. So the first season is really good. The first season is kind of them. Alfred becoming more famous as Paperboy, and it's kind of about them and how they dealing with each other. It's kind of like a straightforward season about what I've just described. And I really liked the first season, but I think the second season is incredible. Like, the second season is amazing because I feel like Donald Glover has gone more himself in the second season. So what I really like about the second season is there are episodes where there is only one character. Of the ones I've said, they're the four main characters: Alfred, Van, and Darius. And there are some episodes that there's only maybe Alfred. So there's one episode that he's at the barbershop and he wants to get a haircut. And the entire episode, he's trying to get a haircut. And that's it. That's the episode. And I love this kind of episode. And there's another episode where he's having an interview and it's just him doing this interview. And those kind of things, that kind of reminded me a little bit of the the surreal reality that Community had. I know that Donald Glover never wrote Community, but I feel like maybe it has influenced some of that in the second season, and I really enjoyed it.
Isn't there an episode where it's just Darius with a guy who's only in the episode who's really creepy? I haven't seen the episode, but I really want to see it. I've heard it's
so
kind
good.
of incredible.
Yeah, and I feel like in the second season you figure out the characters more and what they want, and I'm really excited about the third season because the episode that you're saying is really interesting, and actually Donald Glover is playing one of the guys, but not as himself, not as Ern, but as the prosthetics. And then there's another episode called Champagne Pappy, where all these people go to this mansion where there's supposed to be Drake, and but nobody can see Drake or find Drake, and it kind of shows how social media is such kind of it's called smoky mirrors, like it's there but it's not, because
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, because
smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors, because that's an episode with just Van, and she's trying to find Drake, but she can't find him, and then she finds a room where there's a cutout of Drake, and loads of girls are just paying money to get a picture with a cutout of Drake, pretending that he's him. It's just so funny, and I think it shows the I think Donald Glover is a really brilliant mind, and it's a really good season. And
sorry, I hate to keep it, but I don't remember it that well. Is there an episode in the first season where Justin Bieber's in it, but it's played by a black actor?
Yeah.
See, that's a really fascinating, interesting episode. I remember thinking. So there's sort of more of that in the second season, of like quite interesting ideas or trying surreal or strange things.
Yeah, which I really, really enjoy. It's good, and Donald Glover is definitely like an incredible mind. I love him, but I thought this was just, especially the second season, felt more like him. And then I watched a couple of comedy films. One of them from 2016 called Bad Mums.
Okay.
I love this kind of films, and I completely missed this one. It's a fun comedy. It stars Mila Kunis, Catherine Hahn, which I watched it mainly for her because I really liked her in Wonder Vision, Kristen Bell, Christina Applegate, Jada Pinkett Smith. Good cast of women, and is about Mila Kunis, who's a perfect mom and's got the perfect life, and she works a lot. She does all the homework for her kids. She's overworked, and she tries everything. And then she's pushed to her limit by her husband, and she then starts to let go and become less rigid. And also there's the classic PTA, terrible mums that want everything to be perfect. Do you have that in England? Because we don't really have that kind of PTA here, but I don't know if you have it
No,
in
we don't
England.
really have it much
Yeah.
in the UK.
Yeah, but it seems a lot of American films have this PTA thing, and the PTA mums seem to be like awful. And the mum is played by
Big Little
Christina
Lies was
Applegate.
quite that was a big thing in Big Little Lies, wasn't it?
Yeah. It seems like the PTA runs the school, and this seems to be made by mums that are pretty awful. But it's a fun comedy. Kristen Bell is really good in it. I really like her as a comedic actress. Catherine Hahn too. It's just a fun comedy if you just want to spend a few hours just watching some women getting drunk.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to do that?
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I really like it. It's great. It's good fun.
It's like it's fun. It's fun. It's a good comedy. And then I watched a film, a Netflix film that came out this year called Good on Paper, and is a screenplay by Eliza Schlesinger. Do you know Eliza Schlesinger?
I know of her, but
So I love Eliza Schlesinger. I don't know if I'm saying it right, her name, but I really like her as a comic, and I've seen all her Netflix specials. I watch countless YouTube videos of her, and I remember a few years ago I watched this YouTube video where she talks about this guy that she dated, and he lied to her about everything. Like he lied to her about his job, he lied to her about where he lived, everything. Basically, he lied to her about everything, and I thought it was like really weird. And at the end of that YouTube video, she says, and next time, don't mess around with a with a comic. And then she says his name, and I thought, oh my goodness, like she got like a terrible situation and made it kind of funny. And then
Yeah.
this year, she released a film that is kind of based on that, which is called Good on Paper. And so the film is
right.
about her she's a comic. Is it comic? Yeah, you're a comic.
Yeah.
Comedian.
Yeah.
Comic is American.
I think.
Or comedian.
Yeah, but I think comic is a bit of an American way of saying it.
Sorry.
You can. But that's fine. It's an American film, right? So
yeah. So she's a comedian, and she is on a plane, and she meets this guy played by Ryan Hansen, and he's kind of like a little bit weird, like not her type, but she meets him in this plane, and he says he's a hedge fund guy, and they start hanging out and just as friends, and then he kind of convinces her that they should be together, and then, like I said, she starts finding out that everything he has said it was a lie. So I really like this film. I thought it was funny because I love her as a comedian, and I knew the story before, so I wanted to see how she could put this into a film, and I think it worked pretty well. And she managed to like make money out of somebody completely lying to her, and so I thought that was even better. This guy met, because it must be quite like it has never happened to me, but I can imagine you get attached to somebody and they have completely lied, and the person you've been with is not the person that you thought it was, and to be able to monetize that is fantastic. So kudos to her. Margaret Cho is in it, and she's really funny. So yeah, I thought it was a good film, Good on Paper, and I think it's good on Eliza Schlesinger. And then I watched a documentary on Netflix, which I thought was interesting. Because have you ever heard of hot yoga? Bikram yoga.
Oh yeah, I've probably watched the documentary about to talk about.
Yeah. So I watched this documentary called Bikram, Yogi, Guru, Predator.
Yeah.
Yeah. And first of all, I had no idea that Bikram was his name. Like I thought it was just a type of yoga, Bikram yoga, which it is a type of yoga, but I didn't realize it came from a person with a tiny pair of knickers. So this is a 2019 documentary, and it talks about Bikram Chaudhry and how he built his yoga empire, because it's an empire. It's everywhere, Bikram yoga, which I didn't realize it came from one person. And it's about how this built, and how people in America got obsessed with this yoga, and with the allegations of sexual misconduct from Bikram Chowdhury to some of the people, but not just sexual. I think he was also like kind of mentally abusing people, like psychological abuse and sexual abuse towards his the people
Followers.
that were doing yoga with him. Um, it was an interesting documentary. It was interesting how people perceive this guy like a god. Like, it's really strange because he's rude, he's not nice, and it felt like it was a cult. Like, when people were talking about him, it's like this cult of like them being hot and doing yoga, and I found it really weird.
Yeah, it is
You
pretty
watched
weird.
this, haven't you?
Yeah, I watched it well over a year ago,
Yeah.
but I've seen it. Yeah,
And I just
it is like a cult.
yeah, and I thought it was really weird because I didn't realize that. And also, this guy who has been like sexually abusing, mentally abusing people is out and doing his yoga retreats everywhere.
Yeah,
And it's,
yeah, just operating in plain sight.
yeah, operating nowhere in America, but everywhere else. It's just weird. And the fact that this guy with a tiny pair of knickers took America by storm and the world. It just feels like anybody will follow anything if you just make them believe that that's your stuff. Because also he's got these yoga moves that he has called like the Bikram yoga moves, but in reality they're made by his yogi when he was younger.
Yeah,
And most of the
yeah,
stuff he says are lies, and people still go to his retreats. How weird is that? And then you go to a retreat for this little guy to shout at you and to be an asshole to you? Nah.
yeah.
It's just weird. It feels like these people want to get punished or something.
What did you think of the documentary itself? Because I felt like it was an important thing that people are aware that he's like that. But the documentary, I mean, I think after about half an hour, I felt like it told me everything that I needed to know, and then it kept going for a while more. If you see what I mean.
I think it is longer than it's supposed to be. And I feel like they didn't have enough information on him
Yeah,
being a bad guy for him to be actually convicted, like just to
yeah,
people to go, yeah, he's a bad guy, because a lot of people were still saying that he was good. Like, there were only a couple
yeah,
of women that came forward and they were like, he sexually abused us. The others were like, oh no, he was fine. So I didn't think that I think as a documentary is supposed to kind of uncover things
yeah. It didn't seem
more.
to uncover much,
Yeah.
but it definitely showed him to be a terrible person. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone's going to watch that and come away from it thinking he's a good
Yeah.
guy. But it definitely felt like it slightly fell short of really breaking open the truth. I feel like there's more story to be told there, maybe.
Exactly. So I think maybe they could have taken a bit longer to research a little bit more and find more stories to then do this documentary, because he's still operating. And if people watch his documentary and I don't know, I feel like he's an animal. Well, not an animal. I feel like he's terrible, because animals are great. So I think he's a terrible human.
Yeah. Okay.
But I like, if I liked Bikram yoga and I didn't see anything bad with him, then I would carry on doing Bikram yoga. Like, it wasn't substantial enough, but it showed a lot of him being an ass bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So yes, so that was the documentary, and then for the section, Spotify says Alex listens.
Oh, yeah.
This week Spotify informed me that this album came out, but it came out in February, so I'm not sure why it came out this week. But it's an album by an artist called Claude, and the album is called, and it's her first debut album, and the album is
Oh,
called
yeah.
Super Monster. And what I discovered is that they are signed to Phoebe Bridgers' record label. I didn't know Phoebe Bridgers had a record label, which is
Well,
pretty
Phoebe Bridgers launched a record label, and the first album that
Yeah.
she released
Is
on her
this?
label was Claude's album. Yep.
Thank you, G. You know, you can explain to me much more. Arigato.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Sorry.
Sarcasm.
I don't know. It's just me. Yeah, and so this is Phoebe. This is Saddest Record first album, and Saddest Records is Phoebe Bridges record label.
Satisfactory.
Satisfactory. Oh my god. Oh, this is a terrible section. I'm gonna delete everything.
That's good. So tell me about Clyro's album.
So Claude's album. So
Claude. Clyro.
what did you call it?
I said Clyro, who's a different artist
Okay.
entirely.
Yeah.
Claude.
So Claude's album. So the album starts like in a really kind of like catchy song, and that's well, first of all, what impressed me, and that's why I started listening to this album, was the cover art. Love the cover art. I started listening to it, and the first song is very catchy, and it's fun, and it's quite quirky. So I enjoy that. It felt like a coming of age album. Like they talk about love and breakup and the city where they live that they want to leave, and I felt it was like fresh and nice. And I really enjoyed the album. I think it's a really good listen. Good first album launch, Phoebe Bridgers and Claude.
Cool.
Mm.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. And that's it for my Cultura Caciapo.
Nice. Some good stuff there then. I like it. Well done.
Thank you.
Should we move on to then homework?
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
So, last week was top 5 coming of age films, and we gave each other quite similar homework, I think, in a way.
Absolutely.
So I had to watch Stealing Beauty, the 1995 1996 Liv Tyler film, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci, which I'll talk about now. And you watched Call Me By Your Name, the Luca Guadagnino film, which is quite similar in a lot of ways, I think, and you'll talk about that in a few minutes, I'm sure. So, my film, Stealing Beauty, is the first starring role ever for Liv Tyler.
Tender age of 18. That she was so young when she did it.
Yes, she was. And she is famously grew up thinking that rock musician Todd Rundgren was her father, and discovered when she was around. I think in real life she discovered when she was about 10 or so that in fact Steven Tyler, the lead singer of Aerosmith, was her father, her biological father. Which is interesting, and I bring it up because the plot of this movie is that her character Lucy Harmon, her mother has passed away. I think she's meant to have killed herself, I believe. And she goes on a trip. She gets sent by her dad, who we never see in the film, because the movie opens with her arriving in Italy.
Yeah.
But she gets sent by her father, who isn't her biological father, to visit family friends in the Tuscany region of Italy.
Yeah.
And she spends the summer staying with Ian and Diana, two friends of her mother's, and she is there to hopefully potentially find her biological father. So it was an interesting, I guess, project for Liv Tyler, and along with her being just an excellent actress, one of the reasons I suppose that she was cast in this movie was because there are some interesting parallels between her real life and the character in the film. We've also got Jeremy Irons in there as Alex, a man who is ill. I think he's got AIDS. He's dying. And he kind of decides that he wants to be a mentor to Lucy, Liv Tyler's character. And Rachel Weisz is in this movie, which I didn't know.
I did
Rachel
say.
Weisz is in there.
Yes, you did know.
Sorry?
Yes, you did know. Because we said Vice about...
Well, like I said...
We said Vice about 6 times last time. In the last episode, if you listen to it, you're like, Vice? Vice. Do you remember?
Yeah, well, but I watched The Mummy this week, so I'd forgotten that she was in Stealing Beauty. But so she's in there along with Joseph Fiennes is in it, but he's not really in it very much. And then there's a whole like kind of collection of young, attractive people who kind of pop up in the film. And I guess the other aspect of the movie, that sort of propels it into being a coming-of-age film, is that Liv Tyler is not on a mission, but is sort of partly interested in losing her virginity during her trip.
Yeah.
And treasures, in particular, a letter she received years earlier from someone. We don't know who, though. That she has memorized.
Yeah.
And she's keen on reconnecting with him. And, I mean, that's sort of the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that she's in Tuscany, she's staying with these people, and she's kind of trying to work out who her dad is, and she is also flirting with boys and chasing boys.
Yeah.
And boys are chasing her.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of young people chasing each other around.
Yeah.
It's very beautifully shot. Bernardo, I don't think I've seen a Bernardo Bertolucci movie before. I've definitely not seen Last Tango in Paris. But he certainly knows how to film the gorgeous Italian countryside.
Yeah.
And this villa is beautiful, and it has all these statues lying around, and is very gorgeous and beautiful. And he's collected a collection of actors who are all happy to wander around with varying amounts of clothes on, lots of open shirts,
Yeah.
and then shirts left by the side of the pool,
Yeah.
etc. So it's a very beautiful looking movie on a variety of levels. But
Yeah.
and Liv Tyler is she is a great actress. I really like Liv Tyler. My favourite Liv Tyler movie is The Strangers, which is very different film.
Yeah.
But she's really good. You know, you could see her star kind of coming into being in this movie. I think she definitely is fully capable of leading a film. And I mean, I watched it like just before we started recording today, so it's still very fresh in my mind in terms of like coming up with any like definitive viewpoint on it. But it's it looks beautiful. The music is gorgeous. Do I personally have a great deal of interest in Liv Tyler and her beautiful friends and their sort of slightly vapid conversations about various topics? Maybe not, but it was a very pleasant 2 hours of my life.
No.
It went by very smoothly. And it was it was all right. It was difficult to watch. I looked, because the reason I've only just watched it is because I looked it up after we finished filming last week, and it's definitely not on Netflix.
No.
It's not on anything. It's not even on like Amazon Video,
It's
Google
nowhere.
Play. You can't rent it. It doesn't exist.
No.
Quite often, when you get a film like this that doesn't exist on any of the legit streaming services, someone somewhere will have uploaded it to YouTube. Nope. It's not on YouTube. It's never been released on Blu-ray. So I had to
Did you
order
get a cassette?
DVD copy. I've got a DVD copy
Wow.
of Stealing Beauty.
Wow.
Which is mine forever now. Let's see, how does the film, from the director of Last Tango in Paris, Stealing Beauty explores one girl's intriguing journey into womanhood. in a provocative story of passion and self-discovery. When 19-year-old Lucy arrives in Tuscany to spend the summer with her late mother's free-spirited bohemian friends, she soon finds herself in pursuit of an unfulfilled romance. Guided by the kindness and wisdom of Max. No. Max is an arsehole.
Yeah.
Lucy finds herself battling with her emotions and a sensual adventure that leads to the ultimate enlightenment. Does it? I don't know if it leads to the ultimate enlightenment.
It leads to
Leads
what
to
she
her
wanted
having
to
a-
do.
Fumbling around underneath a tree with an Italian boy.
Yeah.
Which I guess is enlightenment. Jeremy Irons is horrible in this film. She discloses to him very early on in the movie that she's a virgin, and she's obviously quite not comfortable with everyone necessarily knowing that, but she's connected with him. He immediately just runs off and tells everyone at this villa about it, and the next day they're all like having conversations about it in front of her, and she gets understandably pretty upset. And then she eventually forgives him because he's dying and everything. It's sad, but he's not a very nice person in this film, Jeremy Irons, I don't think.
That's weird because, like, it's a Bernardo Bertolucci film. I thought it'd be readily available, so I didn't even check anywhere, but it isn't.
No, I mean I don't care that. I mean it cost £3. It wasn't like it was like it. I'd pay more than that to rent it if it was on. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's more expensive to rent a film than to get this DVD off eBay. It's just fascinating. Like you say, he's an iconic director. He's made some big movies,
Yeah.
The Last Emperor and Last Tango in Paris. And this is a film that, if you look up Liv Tyler or a couple of other actors, this will be a movie that's mentioned as like one of their kind of first big films.
Yeah.
It is odd that it's sort of just been forgotten completely.
I think unfortunately Bernardo Bertolucci hasn't got the best track record, so I think it's kind of.
I know. I mean, his behaviour on the set of Last Tango in Paris.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I suppose it
was terrible.
pretty awful.
Yeah, him and Marlon Brando. So I think that's it. But this was also written by somebody else. So like for example, I don't like Last Tango in Paris. Beautiful Shot or not, I thought it was.
Oh well, it's interesting. It was written by Susan Minot, but the story was by Bernardo Bertolucci. So he came up with a story and then he said to somebody,
but like,
write a script.
Like this has got more of a nice feminist sense, whilst I think Last Tango in Paris was kind of like more horrible and predatory. I don't like that film, and now I like it even less. Knowing that one of the scenes was shot in the way that it was shot. I feel like this has got a more of a softer side of Bernardo because it was also written by somebody else.
It's definitely softer, but it still has an element of a lot of all of these characters sit around and are very concerned with Liv Tyler's sort of romantic life, and they seem to feel like they have agency over her and her body in a way that's quite strange. I thought I did find the tone to be slightly odd, like obviously not on the levels of something like Last Tango in Paris, but it definitely felt like a movie that wouldn't necessarily be made in the same way today.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but you're right. It's got an edge that's not right because why you're so obsessed with her. But maybe it's the
Jeremy
obsession.
Irons immediately decides that he's her mentor. It's very bizarre. Jeremy Irons' character is a strange character that I didn't like, but it's fine for movies to have characters that you don't like in them, and that makes it an interesting film.
Yeah.
This film has also inspired me the first time ever to sign into my IMDb account and send a report in about some trivia that is bad. You can, when you look up a film on IMDb, you can look at the trivia section. It gives you like little bits of. So here's a genuine piece of trivia that somebody has uploaded to IMDb about this movie, right?
Yeah.
You listen out for the point at which it could possibly be considered to have anything to do with the film Stealing Beauty. Yeah? Liv Tyler's real-life father, Steven Tyler, lead singer of the rock band Aerosmith, didn't contribute to the film by composing a song for the film's soundtrack. However, Steven Tyler and Aerosmith did compose the song I Don't Want to Miss a Thing for Liv Tyler's later film, the blockbuster 1998 film Armageddon. Why is that on the Stealing Beauty page? You could go on to every film that Liv Tyler has ever done and write Liv Tyler's real life father, Steven Tyler, lead singer of the rock band Aerosmith, didn't contribute to the film by composing a song for the film soundtrack. However, Steven Tyler and Aerosmith did compose the song "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing"
Yeah.
for Liv Tyler's other movie, Armageddon. Like, why would you? What would possess you to put that on the trivia for Stealing Beauty? It's utterly bizarre.
Yeah.
So that annoyed me to the point where I clicked on it to report it as being irrelevant, and
Yeah.
it made me sign in and set a new password and stuff because I haven't signed into my IMDb account in probably about 10 years.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm glad I watched Stealing Beauty because I promise you, I never would have seen it ever in my entire life had you not recommended it to me as homework for this week. I didn't necessarily love it, but it's an interesting film. I know I can see why you like it. That sounded really accusatory, but I can see why you would like it because it is very much like a sort of the slice of life type of film that you enjoy. And it's definitely got merit to it. And I didn't dislike it. I had a good time watching it. But yeah, it was interesting. And it is fascinating the way it just seems to have vanished from the world.
Yes. Good. What do you think of the title? Io ballo da sola, I dance alone, or Stealing Beauty? Which one do you think is better?
I actually was thinking about this while I was watching it. I don't know that either of them have much relevance to the film. I dance alone. I guess. I mean, in a very literal sense, there's one scene where she's got her Walkman in and she's dancing alone. So I guess in a very literal sense, that's probably a more apt title. Stealing Beauty, I don't even know what it's supposed to mean.
I know that that actually
So,
makes no sense.
I Dance Alone is probably better.
Yeah.
But only because Stealing Beauty just sounds like they've picked two words out of a dictionary and put them together. Who's stealing whose beauty?
Yeah.
Where's the smell? Nobody smells at any point. It doesn't make sense.
Shut up. That title makes no sense.
Makes more sense than Stealing Beauty.
But yeah, more sense than Stealing Beauty.
Yes.
But like I thought maybe I think Io ballo da I dance alone shows also like a way of independence. Like she is alone and she does things her own way. That's I thought maybe. But that's
I guess, and I can see that, and like you're kind of applying a symbolic meaning to the title of the film, and it's very generous of you to do that when you refused to do it for a second with the film Her Smell.
Because there's nothing about smell.
Yeah, but like there's nothing like it. So if the scene in this movie where she dances on her own was taken out of the film, would I Dance Alone stop being an appropriate title for the film?
No comment.
Right, tell me what you thought about Call Me By Your Name.
So,
I
watched another film set in Italy because Italy seems to be the place to be. That's where it is.
Luca, we've got Stealing Beauty, we've got Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah. So, Call Me By Your Name is a coming-of-age romantic drama directed by Luca Guadagnino. And it stars Hami Ham Sandwich. I've been calling him. Oh, why? Timothée Chalamet, and then other people. Michael Stuhlbarg, Amira Skasar, Esther Garo. People that I have no idea who they are. But they were good. So, this film, like Stealing Beauty, starts with Oliver, a university student arriving in Italy to Elio's house. Elio is a 17-year-old and his father is a professor. And every summer he has a student coming over for the summer. And they're Italian, French, Jewish. It's a big mixture of everything. And Elio seems to be like really kind of intelligent kid with he loves music, he writes music down, he plays the piano beautifully, he reads, and Oliver is this classic American, like, yeah, later. So very, very different. They two very different people, and they don't really hit it off at the beginning. I think Elio finds Oliver a little bit brash, and his parents notice this, and they notice they kind of like maybe they don't get along too well, and maybe Elio is a bit jealous of Oliver. Who knows? And then, but after a while, it's they have a conversation, a non-conversation, which I love that bit. They have a non-conversation, like, do you? Do you? What? And when they're in the piazza, and then they find out.
Is that the bit where the camera kind of pulls away
Yeah,
from them and goes
yeah,
around the piazza?
yeah.
And I
And they
love that.
go-
That's my favourite part of the film.
And they go, do you? Because that's the beautiful. I don't know. I thought that was a beautiful scene because I think it's who has written that scene knows exactly how you kind of test the waters before you tell somebody you like them. And they both
Yeah,
were
yeah,
testing
yeah.
the waters, and I thought that was a really nice scene, even how it was filmed. And it's like,
Yeah.
what about do you and then they kind of start blossoming a friendship, and then Hammy's ham sandwich, who was like this like brash American, becomes kind of really sweet, and they both become really sweet together, and Elio is not as judgmental, and they seem to be really like lovely and have a really like start creating a close bond with each other, which then it would become a loving bond. And then they have a beautiful summer together, and then Oliver has to go back to the States, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. So that's the story of. It's this basically the story of two boys having
The
a
story
really
of two boys and a peach.
and a peach having a great time. So there is a peach involved as well, which is amazing because you kept saying about this peach. Like you said about this peach out last episode, and I was like, and every time they eat a peach, it's like they're just eating a peach. But then Elio American pies that peach. I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it because I was like, I had to be really like, although they're completely different stories, I had to completely take away Stealing Beauty out of my head, so I wouldn't compare them because there are similarities, but the similarities are mainly of the Italian countryside, and but it's very easily you could easily say, oh well, the conversation was better in that one, so I had to like kind of take it away. I thought Hammy Hammer and Timothée Chalamet were amazing in it. I think they're great actors, and the way they really didn't like each other or didn't really kind of get there was no chemistry. I was like, how at one thing I was questioning is like, how on earth are they going to make the transition from this to love, like to like become, what, to being attracted to each other? And the transition was that scene, the testing the water scene. And then everything changes, and both of them have a really incredible chemistry. Like the chemistry between those two is beautiful. Like really loving, really playful, really it felt genuine, which I really liked. I Want to Live Where They Live. It looks beautiful. It looks amazing.
Yeah, it does.
And no, I thought it was a really great film and a really great portrayal of summer love. You've been heartbroken, but then you move on, and the end scene is amazing. Like the credits carry on. Elio is crying, but then at the end he smiles. Like he will always have great memories of that. His heart is broken, but he'll always have great memories of that summer. And
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. There's only one criticism about the film is that it's too long.
It probably is. It goes over 2 hours, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like there's a monologue
Yeah.
of the father that could have been avoided. Like the monologue of the father could have been like either shorter or less.
Did you catch who the actor was though?
No.
He's the lead in A Serious Man.
Oh my God, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
Michael Stuhlbarg. Yeah. Or
He
Stuhlberg.
does not look like the same guy.
Stuhlbarg. No, he looks different in every film he turns up in. That actor. He's in Doctor
Wow.
Strange as well.
Is
He's
he?
in yeah, he doesn't have a massive role in Doctor Strange. He's in The Shape of Water.
Oh my goodness.
He's a fascinating actor. He looks different every single time.
Wow.
Which is a testament to his ability, really.
Yeah. I thought he was I thought he was amazing, but I think that monologue could have been shorter or some
No, you're probably all right.
things could have been like in a way I wish that it could have been like the train leaving, him calling his mum to come pick him up, then Christmas, or his father saying, I understand, then Christmas, and then the phone call from Oliver, and that's the end. Like, I think it could have been at least, a little bit short. I think the last bit was a bit too much. But it was good. But that is my only criticism. But I thought it was a good film, acted really well. Hami Hammer, I'm sad that he had to do what he had to do because I'm not sure if we're ever going to see him in a film again, or are we?
No, I think he might be done.
Yeah, which is a shame because I was like, I'm not going to like him, and I didn't at the beginning, and then he proved me wrong. He proved me completely wrong, and he's so great.
And he wears the shortest shorts I've ever seen anyone wear in a movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right.
Nice.
Should we start the top 5?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5. I really love your hair, the Momoji, by the way.
Oh, is it all right?
It's beautiful.
I'm worried it's too long.
Yeah, you look like Aquaman.
Thanks. That's the intention.
You do. You just need some like blue eyes and a trident, and you'll be Aquaman.
Me and Jason Momoa are very similar people.
I didn't say Jason Momoa. I said Aquaman.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, but old Aquaman is like sort of he's got like short cropped blonde hair.
Ah, okay. Well, I mean, Jason Momoa's Aquaman,
Yeah.
not blonde hair Aquaman.
Yeah. Cool. All right, top 5. Quentin Tarantino.
Top 5.
We're doing another director special after we did the Coen Brothers a few weeks ago. This time we're going to a director that's probably had more cultural impact over fewer films. So there's probably going to be there's probably going to be a bit more crossover in our lists, I would guess, today. Although
huge.
Yeah, although we'll see because he's done 9 movies in total.
Yeah. That'd be pretty strange if we don't have at least one.
Well, we have to have at least one.
Well, no, we have to at least
unless you
one.
really, really like 4 Rooms, the little sort of mini thing he did with Robert Rodriguez, but I'm sure that neither of us have included that. So, or the episode of what was it? Oh, CSI. He directed an episode of CSI years ago. I guess you could have put that in if you were.
He did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so
I think I even watched it. I was really excited about it.
I remember it being a massive deal, but I just didn't watch CSI, so I didn't watch it. If he directed an episode of Buffy, I'd have seen it. Or do you remember didn't he guest? Because did Robert Rodriguez direct Sin City, and then Tarantino guest directed a scene of it? I think that's a real thing. But it was like a really like non-scene where not much happened, so it wasn't. It was all a bit of a sort of marketing thing. Anyway, I'm starting today, so I'll begin with my number 5 pick.
Can I ask you a question?
Go on.
Why do you like Quentin Tarantino?
Why do I like Quentin Tarantino? Because he is a gateway into the world of film and cinema. I think his films are just alive with the love of the medium, and you can tell that he is a guy who grew up working in video shops and just watching movies. And he gets a lot of flack sometimes for just stealing from other films, but what's that quote from someone? Idiots steal, but geniuses borrow. That's a terrible. I've mangled that quote, but something like that. He's not just stealing it; he's taking it bits and pieces from all different places and bringing them together and creating his own thing. And it's kind of, he creates movies in a way that no one else really does. He uses music more effectively than just about any other filmmaker on the planet. He writes dialogue like nobody else, and his films are just delightful and a rare treat. He doesn't, he's only made 9 films over the course of 1994, close to 30. He's had close to 30 years in the business at this point. He's made less than 10 movies and insists irritatingly that he's going to retire after his next film. He's a precious resource. He can be a frustrating guy. He's been doing the rounds recently because he's released a book, an adaptation of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's adapted it into a novel, and he's been doing the rounds on various podcasts and saying inflammatory, irritating stuff that I don't necessarily agree with. But he's a unique person, and he makes unique films. Why do you like him?
I like him because he clearly loves cinema. He's got an incredible view of things. Of how to portray things. Like you said, he writes incredible dialogue. You can watch a film where you'll have just 2 people chatting for a few minutes about nothing and just be completely genius. And I think I love that about him. He does not compromise. I think he compromises with length. Sometimes he has to, he's amazing. I really like. Well, maybe not. Maybe he's not amazing. His films that he produces are amazing. I really like them. He pushes boundaries. He pushes buttons. Without being too much. He does it in a very maybe nonchalant way, and that's why I think it's really effective. Like, he can create violence but be funny, like the most gruesome violence, and make it hilarious. And I think he's a unique director, and I really, really admire his work. And the fact that a lot of people think, like you said, he just steals from other films, but he doesn't. I think all of his films are an homage to other films. Other films that you might have not seen, or something that you might have not been interested in. And if you don't like westerns, maybe after watching Kill Bill, you might be more interested in westerns or kung fu films that they don't really exist anymore. But he brings them back to life, and I think it just, like, I'm going full circle. He loves cinema. And I think, and music, because his soundtracks are like the best soundtracks.
Yes, they are.
So let's start with a top 5.
Yeah. So, I think we should not say today if one of us has a choice that the other one says, because I think we can assume that that's going to be the case, and it'll be more of a surprise to see where we've placed films and stuff like that. So my number 5 is my number 5 pick. I'll start there. Is you have to start at the beginning, and I've gone with 1992's Reservoir Dogs.
Ooh, nice.
Written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, starring. I mean, this is his first film, and he somehow managed to get Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Turney, Michael Madsen, all together in the film. Some of those people weren't huge at the time, but Harvey Keitel, I mean, getting Harvey Keitel in a film in 1992 when you've never made a movie before in your original script shows just kind of from the very beginning how much people believed in his talent just from the screenplay, I'm assuming. It's the story of a group of bank robbers going on a heist. And the genius part of it is that you don't see the heist; you just see them planning the heist, and then you see the aftermath of it. And it spawned so many iconic moments from the really, really famous ones, like the stuck in the middle of you scene with the ear and Michael Madsen, which is an incredible moment in cinema. But then there's equally the moment where Tim Roth is explaining how he's going to blend into the gang in the toilet, and he's kind of going through the plan and moving through the route, and just that's not as famous a moment, but it's still kind of incredible. And I remember the first time I saw Reservoir Dogs, I saw it in school, or not in school, but when I was in school.
Okay.
And it was right at the point when I was really getting into films and getting into cinema, and I thought I'd never seen another movie like it, and it completely opened my eyes to what cinema could be, and I love it. It's great. Reservoir
Good.
Dogs. I don't know why is it called Reservoir Dogs, Alex?
I don't know.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. It works as a title because it's just a cool phrase, really. It doesn't need to be more than that, I don't think.
The theory is a hybrid of the French New Wave film and the 70s American exploitation film. The Reservoir represents the French New Wave crime films, and the Dogs is from Straw Dogs, the violent Sam Peckinpah film. That's
Straw
our theory.
Dogs. Okay, yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah,
I will go with that. Either way, it's my number 5 pick.
Cool.
And yeah, it's got everything that you want from a Quentin Tarantino movie. It doesn't tell its story in a strictly traditional sense. It has diegetic music drops in there. It's just got he hit the ground running. He started and was able to do everything that he wanted to do, and he only got better with time, in my opinion. But he started pretty well.
Yeah.
What's your number 5?
Okay, so my number 5 is a film I've spoken about before because it's actually was one of my top 5 soundtracks.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. And this is the third Quentin Tarantino film called Jackie Brown. This is third film. The cast is still amazing. It stars Pam Grier, Samuel L. Jackson, Bridget Fonda, Michael Keaton, Robert De Niro, which pretty big big names, and Robert Forster. I love him.
I love Robert Forster so much.
I love him. He's the best. Jackie Brown is a flight attendant who smuggles money from Mexico into the United States for this gangster called Odell, and when one of the couriers gets arrested, Beaumont, he kind of he snitches on them, and Jackie gets arrested by the police, but then she becomes an informant, and she conjures up a plan to be able to be an informant but also get the money. Yeah, like she just plans this complicated game that by the end you're not really sure what's happening because there's so many twists and turns. I've seen it so many times, and but she manages at the end to get $500,000 from Odell, and Robert Forster, who is a bail bond guy, kind of falls in love with her and helps her. But yeah, it's a beautiful film. I love this film. I love the soundtrack. I've spoken about it before. It's just a beautiful soundtrack. It kind of gives homage to blaxploitation films. It's fun. It's great. I love this film. It's so good. For a
Nice
while,
choice.
it was my favorite. It was my number one. But then a few months ago, I did a rerun of Quentin Tarantino films, and I don't know, I started preferring others.
Yeah, I kind of find myself like this is such a fluid list because
Yeah,
you've kind of seen new things when you rewatch his films, and they'll change in their rankings and stuff like that, in my opinion. But I haven't watched Jackie Brown since I was a teenager, so it's long due a rewatch for me. I do need to get. I keep like it's yeah. I need to get back to it because I do remember liking it. But I think when I watched Jackie Brown, I was too young to really appreciate and understand it because it's probably the least Tarantino of any of his
yeah,
films, I'd say.
yeah,
Which isn't a
yeah,
knock against it at all. It's probably a bonus for some people, but it almost asks a little bit more of you because it doesn't have like the easily enjoyable kind of stylistic flourishes that maybe some of his other films have, and
yeah.
it's asking slightly more from the audience, and I
Mm,
didn't fully get it when I first watched it, but I know I
yeah.
like it if I watch it again.
And also as an adaptation from a book, so it's kind of different of his style,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why I like it, because it just kind
Mm.
of he manages to, I don't know, it's definitely Quentin Tarantino, but also a little bit different, and I think he did it so well. And
Yeah.
the music sells this film to me all the time. Like when I watch it, I'm like in awe. Yeah.
To number 5. So we'll go to my number 4, which is
Yeah.
uh yeah, my number 4 pick is quite unimaginatively the next one after Reservoir Dogs, 1994's Pulp Fiction.
Oh, Pulp Fiction.
Um, you know, he after the massive success of Reservoir Dogs, he was basically given absolute freedom to do whatever he wanted, and he wrote this sort of something that on paper shouldn't work. Like I think that probably
No.
when he first turned it in, people probably, I don't know for certain, but I imagine people were kind of doubtful that it would work. But he pulled together another incredible cast. Again, this is only his second film, and he's getting John Travolta, Samuel Jackson, Bruce Willis, Tim Roth, Ving Rhames, Uma Thurman. I mean, he kind of Uma Thurman's immortalised in the history of cinema thanks to this movie.
Yeah.
She's done amazing work throughout her entire career, but the image of her on the poster for that film is just going to be immortal forever.
Mm,
Like a
yeah.
Beatles album, it will live forever, I think. I think what I love about it and what puts it slightly above Reservoir Dogs for me is the non-linear storytelling.
Yeah.
Telling the story
Oh,
out of chronology.
yeah.
I don't think I remember that again. I watched this when I was a teenager. It was the first time I'd
Yeah.
seen somebody attempt that. People who that as soon as he did it, people started doing it over and over again for years. But I don't think anyone has ever pulled it off as effectively and as effortlessly as he
Yeah.
does in Pulp Fiction. And sequences where you see John Travolta's character meet the end of his story. In somebody else's story, and then you go back to his character, and it doesn't tell you where everything's happening, but you can kind of
No.
figure it out and work it out, and
Yeah.
it has the confidence to spend quite a lot of time with Harvey Keitel's character in that whole sequence, and you might wonder why it's there, but it's there because it's just
Yeah.
entertaining. It's an entertaining movie, and it's wonderful. The music's great,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was beaten to the best Oscar by Forrest Gump, which is just bizarre. But that's where
Yeah.
we are. That's the world we
Definitely.
live in.
It is bizarre.
Yeah.
It's just the what I was saying before, like the violence. There's a scene where it could be the worst scene in the world, but it becomes so funny when they're driving in the car and John Travolta is just like shaking his gun, and then and then the back of the car just explodes with
Yep.
brains,
Yep.
and it's just so funny, and you're not supposed to laugh, but it's hilarious. I don't know. It's just such a great film. Every
Yes,
time
it
John
is.
Travolta goes to the bathroom, something bad happens.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of kind of bathroom related stuff in
Yeah.
there because you got Christopher Walken
Yeah.
and his whole little tale about his bottom
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what he concealed using it. Um,
Yeah. It's a work of art. I've watched it
yeah,
recently, and I don't know. I'm in awe of the mind that created that.
it's such a satisfying movie to see how it all
Yeah.
plays out and all links
Yeah.
together and comes together, and
Yeah.
individual scenes on their own are entertaining, and then the piece as a whole, when you look at it
Yeah.
having finished it, it just is beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's influenced. I mean, you can see how important it is by just the sheer number of movies that imitated it that came in the mid to late 90s afterwards. You know, films like because I used to collect DVDs when I was in the late 90s, and like films like Killing Zoe, which I've never seen, would come out and just I think they were like from the writer of Pulp Fiction. I can't even remember how they linked it to Pulp Fiction now.
Mm.
I think it was maybe Roger Avery who helped do the story for Pulp Fiction, but like films like Killing Zoe and other movies like Robert Rodriguez's whole like start
Yeah.
of his career and stuff, it all seemed to just come from this love for Pulp Fiction and people wanting to kind of recreate that style and that vibe, but nobody ever got close. And Quentin
Yeah.
Tarantino never even tried to. He just went off in a totally different direction after this film. He adapted an Elmore Leonard novel into Jackie Brown, and then you know we hit the noughties and he starts doing Kill Bill and gets into his revisionism, and it's magical. Anyway,
Yeah.
what's your number 4 pick?
My number 4 pick is a film written and directed by Quentin Tarantino,
Nice.
and it's his latest film,
Oh.
and is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is 2019 film.
Nice.
And again, the cast is amazing. We have Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. Who else do I know? Dakota Fanning, Al Pacino.
Oh yeah, he
Anyone
is in
else?
it. Kate Berlant.
And it's it's Quentin Tarantino's homage to old Hollywood, and is set in 1969 in Los Angeles. Cinema is changing. Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and and his stunt double Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt. I think probably like I just when I think about Brad Pitt in this film, it just makes me laugh.
Quentin Tarantino just wrapped up a perfect little present and handed it to Brad Pitt for this. It's
beautiful.
It's the most wonderful,
It's
perfect role
beautiful.
he's ever been given.
And they notice the industry is changing. Rick Dalton can't get really the parts he used to get. Cliff is a stunt double that's not getting any work because he killed his wife, but is never, we never find out. There's also Sharon Tate in the film, actual Sharon Tate, an actual character, and Roman Polanski, and Sharon Tate played by the incredible Margot Robbie, who does not say a word in this film, and she's still magical. Well, not a word, but she says very little, and she still manages to steal the show. And there is also a mention of the Manson family, who we know they in reality killed Sharon Tate. And it's just the end of the 60s and a film about that, an homage to old Hollywood. And it's funny. I found myself laughing a lot at this film in the cinema for just moments that were just so beautiful. And I love Brad Pitt in this film. And it's amazing how Sharon Tate, Margot Robbie, goes to the cinema and she's watching her own film, and Quentin Tarantino decided to actually use the footage from the film
Yeah, it's such a
that
nice sort
starred
of
Sharon
tribute to
Tate.
the real person
Yeah,
that she
and
gets kind of that. Yeah, people get to see that her
yeah,
work.
and it ends in a way that is really bittersweet because you
Yeah,
wish it ended that way, and it
in real
didn't,
life.
and
Yeah,
in real life. And I love this film because in a way with a lot of Quentin Tarantino films, you kind of have the wish that things would have gone a different way. And I think he gave us the gift of old Hollywood back. And there is also Bruce Lee in this film.
yeah, and that's an interesting one because obviously I think Bruce Lee's daughter is pretty publicly not happy about the portrayal of Bruce Lee in the film. But then, and
Mm,
that's one of the things that Quentin Tarantino has been talking about recently in podcasts he's been doing. It's very clear from that he feels like he's accurately representing Bruce Lee in terms of like
yeah,
Bruce Lee didn't have respect for American stuntmen and would have treated, well, Quentin Tarantino believes he would have treated Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt's character, in the way he is in the film, and Quentin Tarantino believes that scenario could have played out the way it does. And he said he says that if anyone other than Bruce Lee's daughter has a problem with that characterization in the film, he doesn't seem to have a lot of time for it. And I can totally see where he's coming from. And it's almost this sort of symptom of him being quite a difficult character who won't compromise in interviews and won't compromise in what he believes is the
mm,
right thing for his film. It's quite similar, like you mentioned, that Margot Robbie doesn't talk much in this film, and when it premiered
mm,
I think it was when it premiered at Cannes, somebody said to him, you've hired one of the best actresses alive today to play this part, you don't give her any lines, why is that? Have you're not respecting her? And I think Quentin Tarantino, and I believe after seeing the film a few times, that he's made the best, like he's done it the best way he could have done it. Like if you watch Margot Robbie's
yeah,
performance in this film and you're just like rating her performance by how many lines she gets given, then you're not understanding what she's doing in the movie. She's incredible in this film,
yeah,
and she does
mm-hmm,
amazing work. And Quentin Tarantino has drawn an incredible performance out of her with very few lines.
yeah,
But instead of saying any of that, instead of defending his choices, because he obviously doesn't feel like he has to, he just makes this
mm,
very kind of sarcastic comment to this journalist. I think he says, "I reject your hypothesis," and then won't.
yeah,
And in a way, it's like that it's fair enough for him to say that, but also it was a female journalist asking him, and it looked bad when he did it, and it made me. And then when you see the film, I think that I'm kind of on his side, but he's such a prickly character that it can be quite hard to sort of
yeah.
stand by some of his the way he kind of defends his choices. I think that often he has made the right choice, but when people have issues with it, he's incapable of seeing any negative criticism, it seems sometimes. But that
But doesn't I feel sometimes with him and those kind of interviews, I feel like people are trying to call him out on something that is not real, and he's not prepared to give any voice to that. I think that's the
yeah,
thing. Like I've seen so many interviews with that, and people say such stupid questions, or such. Watch the film and
yeah,
find out. Look at Margot Robbie. Look how he represented Sharon Tate. I think he doesn't even want to like give the time of the day
yeah.
to these questions. And I
Which I
think
completely understand that,
he
like
has
why he'd feel
proved
like that.
with these 9 films that he has done that he's a master filmmaker.
Yeah,
That he doesn't have to put up with this.
yeah. I mean, on a slightly connected note, there's a fantastic sketch in the second season of I Think You Should Leave that kind of pokes fun at the inanity of those press junkets that actors have to do. I don't want to spoil too much if anyone hasn't seen it, but it involves Santa Claus being in a film, and it's very, very funny. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Continue to check that out. Right, brilliant. So that's your number 4 pick, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once, yeah, yeah.
Cool. So we'll come to my number 3. My number 3 pick is probably, out of the 5 movies of his that I've picked, the most controversial to have on my list, because I've definitely heard people kind of complain about this film more than any of his other films, and some people seem to be really down on it. But I absolutely loved it the first time I saw it in the cinema, and I've loved it when I've rewatched it since, and I just think it's an incredible, beautiful piece of work, and it is his 2015 revisionist western, The Hateful Eight. Such a good film.
choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and you had to go. Did you come with us when we went to see it in Japan?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, we had to because it came out when we were living in Japan, and it wasn't showing in the city we lived in. So a group of us had to go on a road trip to see it. We had to really prove that we wanted to see this movie, because there was a whole controversy about this film when it was released to do with he wanted it projected in a certain fashion that a lot of films aren't prepared to. A lot of cinemas aren't able to do. It was on 70mm film, and I think partly because of that, and partly because of it being I don't know actually. I don't know, but anyway, ultimately it was quite difficult to see for a lot of people, and in particular, we had to go on this big journey to see it, but it was so worth it. It's got Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell. I mean, Quentin Tarantino working with one of my absolute favourites. Kurt Russell is such a treat. Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is awesome in this film, like she's awesome in everything.
So good.
Walton Goggins, Damien Bashir, Tim Roth is wonderful in this film. Michael Madsen, Bruce Dern, James Parks, and Channing Tatum, who you forget that Channing Tatum is even in it because he takes him so long to get into the film, but he's pretty good when he turns up.
Is he?
Yeah, he's under the floorboards. Do you remember?
I forgot about Channing Tatum. Wow.
It's such a Tarantino film. It's right in this period of his career where he's doing all these kind of revisionist films. Django was quite like changing history. Inglourious Bastards massively changes history. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood changes history. It's something that he's obviously very sort of really sparks and a lot of creativity in him when he makes these movies.
Yeah.
I was pretty down on it when it was sort of being produced because I felt like he'd done a western, and I like Django Unchained, but it's not on my top 5 list today. Even though I do like it, but I kind of was like I wanted him to go and try something else instead of going back to the world of the western. But he makes this kind of it's so different to Django Unchained. It's such an isolated film. It's pretty much all set in this one sort of along this trail in America, and all these characters come together, and it feels like such a Quentin Tarantino movie in the strange choices it makes. For example, he narrates the film. He just comes on and narrates it at certain points, and I just adore that. I adore the fact that it's just Quentin Tarantino narrating his own film. That's such a great thing. I love that it's kind of influenced by The Thing, the John Carpenter movie. He took inspiration from that. This idea of these people trapped together, and then he put Kurt Russell in the film is so wonderful. I love that there's a moment in this film where they used a genuine antique guitar from that time period for Jennifer Jason Leigh to play, and Kurt Russell improvised and smashed it, not realising that it's this priceless antique guitar, and it was awful that happened, but the reaction when you watch the movie, the reaction on Jennifer Jason Leigh's face is so amazing. It's just wonderful. I love it. I love this film. I think it's one of his more underrated films. It doesn't get enough love from his fans, and people should really give it another try and give it a chance and see it as this kind of almost like a bottle episode in his career. You know, like a TV season that spent too much money and needs to make a cheaper episode will often do what they call a bottle episode, where all the characters are stuck in one place. Breaking Bad famously did it with the Fly episode. And it's almost like, you know, I don't think money was an issue or anything, but it's almost like his take on a bottle episode. It's his career's version of a bottle episode, getting all these incredible actors together, sticking them in this room and just watching what happened. And it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that film. I think you're spot on. Good choice. Good choice.
Thank you very much. So, what's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick is Quentin Tarantino's 2012 revisionist western, Django Unchained.
Wow, we haven't had a crossover yet. This is crazy.
We haven't had a crossover. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So credible cast, Jamie Foxx in his only role with Quentin Tarantino. Christoph Waltz, and then Leonardo DiCaprio, Kerry Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, Walton Goggins, Don Johnson. And so Django is set in 1858, and a bounty
Bounty Hunter. You can do
a
this.
bounty hunter called King Schultz, played by Christoph Waltz, is looking for a slave, and he frees him, Django, because he needs him to find two men that he is looking for. After helping him, King Schultz promises Django to go and find his wife, Broomhilda. She was sold to a plantation in Mississippi, and this is the plantation where Leonardo DiCaprio is. And in this plantation, bad stuff happens, but then it ends in a beautiful way. I love this film. In Italy we grew up with spaghetti western. There's Sergio Leone is part of our blood. I love the music in it. Christoph Waltz is perfect because you saw him before in Inglourious Bastards being an absolute horrible piece of human. But here you see him being amazing. Leonardo DiCaprio is great in it. There's the scene where he breaks a glass and he actually cuts himself, but he's such a good actor that everything is fine. Jamie Foxx is really good in it, it's Jamie Foxx. And I think it's just a really, really good film and a really nice take on a Western film. And I really like it.
Do you know what makes me like it slightly less? And probably is
Why?
Not why it's not on my list, but like something that really frustrates me about it. His terrible Australian accent. Quentin Tarantino, when he turns up in it.
Oh yeah.
That's one cameo too far for me. I don't like that bit at all. I find it really irritating.
That's pretty bad, isn't it? Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, I'm not. It's a great movie, but that for me sort of sours it a little bit. It's good. I like it. We've both got his westerns at number 3 on our list, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Shall I go to my number 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my number 2 pick is was for a long time my number 1 pick. But another film has sort of taken the spot from it. But it's the film that came out. How old was I when this movie came out? I was 15, so I was at the exact right age for a teenage boy to like a Quentin Tarantino movie, and it was at the exact right moment where he made the most teenage boy film he'll ever make, and it is Kill Bill Volume 1 from 2003.
Oh, great choice.
Thank you. It's just, so it's the story, it's part 1 of a 2-part film. In a way, this is just the entry for both parts, because he does view it as one film, but really it's, I don't know, I'm going to pick the first part of the second part every time. It's the story of the bride, played by Uma Thurman, who is on a roaring rampage of revenge after Bill and his team of assassins attempts to kill her at her wedding. The Bill is played by David Carradine. The team of assassins is played by Lucy Liu, Michael Madsen, Daryl Hannah, Vivica A. Fox. It is quite the cast in this film. This film is his homage to Kung Fu cinema, a style of film that I've never particularly been a big fan of necessarily, but like he just does it perfectly. He just perfect. Uma Thurman is incredible in this movie. She you're with her for basically the entire film, and you just love her. You just want her to succeed, even though her mission is so awful, and what's been done to her is so awful. And it's kind of like it's Quentin Tarantino just forcing as much style in there as he can. You've got anime sequences in this movie. You've got black and white sequences in this movie. You've got incredible wire work going on in this film. You've got an incredible soundtrack in this film. He was just filled with inspiration when he started making this movie, and it all just poured out of him, which is why this film ends up being 2 films. And it's just so good. I just love it. I just love Kill Bill Volume 1, the sound of it. I don't think there's a second of this movie that isn't entertaining. And it made superstars of that one band and their song Do 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 Do. And that's pretty good as well. So yeah, it's just the best. And and you know, we ended up living in Japan, and you've got to assign part of that love of Japan to the love of it through. I mean, he cast one of the girls from Battle Royale in this movie, and she's so good.
Chiaki Kurayama from Battle Royale. Like, how amazing is that? He loves that film, and then he goes and finds her. Like,
and gives her the best part. She was so cool with that.
Best part, and one of the best deaths as well. Like, palm. Oh, yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. It's great, and it was huge. You remember when it came out? It was so big. It was huge when it came out. It just took over the world. People were obsessed with this movie when it came out. The gap between the first 2 films was, it was crazy. It was crazy.
I had posters on the wall. I had the kind of official poster with Uma Thurman. Then I had the poster with the Hattori Hanzo with all the their names on. Like, I love this film.
Yeah.
This film is iconic. Yeah.
So it's my second favourite Quentin Tarantino movie. It is a 5-star film, and I love it. What's your number 2 pick?
My number 2 pick is a 2003 film starring Uma Thurman, Kill Bill Volume 1.
Tell me why you like it so much.
Oh, it's just perfect. It's so good. Uma Thurman is amazing in it. The restaurant scene where she fights the Crazy 88 is just such a beautiful scene. It's just like she just kills loads of people in an incredible way. It's cruel, it's interesting, it's fun, it's original. The fact that you don't know her name for the longest time and she's just a bride. Why is that? Who knows? The scene, it's just beautiful. It's just an amazing film. And the second one, I love the second one too. Is really good.
The second one it definitely slows down more than Volume 1, doesn't it?
Yeah. The first one is go go go, go. From the scene when she's in the hospital and she wakes up, and then there's the most disgusting guy is there, and she just crushes his head, and she just screams, "Where's Bill? Where's Bill?" Oh my God,
and then she goes to find Bill, and that's the movie.
And then she goes to find Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's a great film. Great choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the bit? There's a bit. The bit that stuck with me the most and disturbed me as a teenager is in the anime sequence.
Yeah.
She kills the crime boss, and she sticks the sword in him and twists it, and then it shows him clenching his teeth together, and he does it so hard that his teeth burst out of his mouth, and there's a sound effect on that bit that will stay with me until I until I die. That moment, it's so disturbing, despite being animated. It's incredible. Cool. Yeah. So that's your number. That's both our number 2 picks.
Yeah.
Kill Bill Volume 1 or just Kill Bill. Kill Bill. Because
Kill Bill.
Yeah. The second part's pretty good. So we come to my number 1 choice. My number 1 choice is a film, a Quentin Tarantino film that the first time I watched it, I thought it was terrible and I hated it. And I have never changed my opinion so much with a film than this. The second time I watched this film, I completely fell in love with it and saw it so differently to the first time I watched it. And despite still being so fresh, I'm convinced it's his best work. I absolutely adore it, and it is we already talked about it today. It's the 2019 film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just love this film. I think that, in particular, Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in this movie are just pretty much two of my favorite performances in all of cinema. And I love that it's like a hangout movie, that it doesn't so differently to like, say, a film like Kill Bill Volume 2 or Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained. Those are movies that have like stories to tell, and they're determined to like take you through this tale, and they're great stories. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and this is probably why I didn't like it the first time I watched it, it almost doesn't have a story. It's just showing you a period of history and through the eyes of these characters, and it's great, and it works so well, and it's such a rarity to have a movie like that just creates a world and is happy to just let you live in that world. And the confidence of this director to just make a film like this and put it out there and be confident in how good it is a testament to how amazing he is. And it's just great. It's just great. The sequence where Brad Pitt goes to the Manson Ranch to drop off the hitchhiker played by called what's her name? She's great. It's the cast for this film is so huge. What's the actress called? Margaret Qualley. Margaret Qualley plays Pussycat, one of the Manson family sisters, who he takes back to the ranch, and then he gets kind of goes through this ranch and has a little scene there, and it's just it's like a horror. It's like a film from a horror scene, a scene from a horror film, even.
Yeah.
Just in the middle of the movie, it's really scary because you kind of know what could potentially happen to him while it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Then it builds and builds and builds. This ending that's similar to what you've been talking about in some of his other movies is so violent, but there's so little violence in the rest of the film that when it does sort of all kick off at the end, it has quite it really feels impactful, and it feels it's this odd thing where it's almost celebratory, the violence, because he's doing something different to what happened in reality. He's trying to change reality and help Sharon Tate, and it's great. It's just great. It's so good. It's so good. I mean, how Damian Lewis plays Steve McQueen in this movie for like a scene, like he just it's crazy. This film is so wild. Kurt Russell is in there for like a second, and he narrates it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And I can't wait to read the novel.
It's amazing because when I went to the cinema 2 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, I've just watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and I loved it. And you were like, meh. And I was just so shocked because I just enjoyed every minute of it. And you were like, meh. And then we argued a little bit on... I'm trying to find a text now. We argued a little bit, and then I was like, well, George never changes his mind, so I'm never going to change his mind. And then you watched it again. I'm so glad, because it's very rare that you change your mind. And
but I do. Really I am willing to change my mind. See, I do change my mind.
Okay, I guess so, but not often. George, I've known you for a while. Not often.
But it shows that I'm willing to change it when it needs to be changed.
Absolutely. But and well, I'm glad you did, because it's such an amazing film, and I would love to watch it with you, because I think we would enjoy watching it together.
Yeah, let's do that next time. We can watch a film.
And Brad Pitt won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar.
And he gave a great speech, almost like he was in character of Cliff Booth. His speech was very sort of chill and self-effacing, and I like him. I like Brad Pitt. He's good. That meme of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen is a gift to the world as well. So thank you, Tarantino, for that one. Right, okay, so That's my number one. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a masterpiece. What's your number one?
My number one pick is 1994 film Pulp Fiction.
Perfect. Why?
It's a masterpiece. It's a one of its own kind of film. It's got one of the most horrific scenes that I can never watch. I've watched this film so many times, and there's one scene where in the pawn shop,
Oh, yeah.
and
That is horrible.
and they're gagged, and then something horrible happens. I have to leave the room, and I have to think about unicorns and other things, because I cannot deal with that scene, because I think it's the most horrific scene in cinema, because it's just horrible. The actors that do the horrible stuff are disgusting. It's just horrific. The retaliation, I always come back for the retaliation in that scene, and I love it. I think
Fair
it's
enough.
perfect. But yeah, it's a great film with great dialogue, with so many questions that you wanna ask, like when they open the suit, the briefcase, and it's and there's a light. Nico, what's in the briefcase?
Yeah.
You don't know what's in the briefcase.
Yeah. Why does Marcellus Wallace have a
conversation-
plaster on the back of his neck?
Why does Marcellus Wallace have a plaster on his neck? There are so many actors and so many. It could be like loads of different episodes of something, and
Yeah.
I adore this film. It's so good, and yeah, it's definitely my favorite. The $5 shake.
Well,
When
yeah,
she
we
drinks
talked
it.
about that.
We talked about the $5 shake, and when she drinks it, you're just like, I want that $5 shake. I want it. Yeah, it's just a fantastic film.
It truly, truly is.
Yeah. Just
Cool.
the conversation that they have in the car, John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. John Travolta's just come back from Europe, and they're just comparing McDonald's, or is it Burger King? Burger King. No,
No,
McDonald's.
it's McDonald's, because I don't like the quarter pounder.
It's a quarter pounder with cheese, and in they call it Royale with cheese, and you can drink beer, and you go, yeah, we can. It's just I don't know. It's just such a silly conversation, but it's just great. It's just how we can make mundane conversations really interesting and effective and amazing. But yeah, that's my number one. The Pulp Fiction.
Yes. Good. Okay, so shall we run down our lists?
Yeah.
Okay, so my top 5 was 5 Reservoir Dogs, 4 Pulp Fiction, 3 The Hateful Eight, 2 Kill Bill, and 1 Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Very good.
How about
My
you?
top 5s. Number 5, Jackie Brown. Number 4, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 3, Django Unchained. Number 2, Kill Bill. And number 1, Pulp Fiction.
Fantastic as well. So we actually ended up covering quite a wide array of his films there. I think we just missed off Inglourious Basterds didn't get any love from either of us.
No, really like the film, but
yeah, it's a good film. And
not
Death
as-
Proof didn't get any love.
yeah, Death Proof. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I didn't like it when I watched it, and I haven't watched it since. It might be due a rewatch because I do.
Well, maybe that could be a
adore Kurt
homework.
Russell.
Maybe
Oh,
could
we
do,
both
like-
watched Death Proof, and then we come back and see what we
Yeah.
think. Maybe that's a good idea,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, maybe we should do that.
Because I watched it like ages ago. Like I haven't watched it for a long time. And sometimes I don't even consider it one of his films. I don't know why. I just...
No, I'm the same. Well, because it was that weird. It was that experimental grindhouse project where it was
Yeah,
part of a double
yeah.
bill with Planet Terror, And then the whole
Yeah.
it was such a big flop in America that the release over here or in the UK ended up being a bit of a mess. And then it just and because I think he went all in on making it feel like an exploitation movie from the 70s. I think almost, at least at the time, it felt like he'd forgotten to make an entertaining film. But
Yeah.
I think if you can view it through the kind of prism of it being a hangout film almost in a similar way to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a film that's got a destination to arrive at but is in no rush to get there. And you could just enjoy the ride with Kurt Russell playing stuntman Mike. Maybe it will be better. So yeah, maybe we should do that. I think that's a good idea for homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, because were there any others? What else has he done? I think that's all his films. Reservoir Dogs was on my list. Pulp Fiction was on both our lists. Jackie Brown was on your list. Kill Bill we had both. Death Proof we missed. Inglourious Basterds we missed. Django you had. Hateful Eight had, and Once Upon a Time. Yeah, so we agreed that Inglourious Basterds is good, but just doesn't quite make our lists. So maybe we should give Death Proof another go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's our homework. That was easily dealt with. So, do you have a recommendation from this week's Culture Catch-Up for people to go and check out?
Yes, I think if you haven't, I've got 2 recommendations, if that's okay.
Yep, that's absolutely fine.
I definitely would recommend Super Monster, the album by Claude, and watch the 2 seasons of Atlanta if you got Disney Plus, because they are fantastic.
Nice.
The second one I think is incredible, so I would definitely recommend watch both, but especially to work up to the 2nd season of Atlanta. How about you?
I'll go for a couple of recommendations. The 2nd season of I Think You Should Leave is a masterpiece, so watch it. Okay. Everybody watch it. If you don't watch it, you're not going to know what sloppy steaks are. So you're not going to know why Tammy Craps doesn't have farts in her head anymore. You're not going to know what weight limit you have to achieve to play with Tammy Craps. I mean, all of these things are waiting for you in the 2nd season of I Think You Should Leave. So watch it, and get out there and go and see Another Round, the Danish film starring Mads Mikkelsen, directed by Thomas Vinterberg. It is a wonderful, glorious, joyful movie that explores the good and bad sides of life, and it's just incredible. The longer time I spend away from having seen it, the more my heart grows fond for it. So watch Another Round any way you can, and it's just brilliant. So that's that. Next week we'll be back to do a slightly different top 5 outside of films and music. We're going to go back to books, and we're going to count down our top 5 non-fiction books, which is going to be a pretty interesting list. Pretty different. Alex definitely reads a lot more non-fiction than me, so her list is going to be pretty fascinating and wonderful. And I will pull together all 5 non-fiction books I've read in my life and organise them in a list, and it's going to be fantastic. So join us for that next week. That's going to be really good. Join us on the internet for all sorts of discussions and movie reviews and recommendation posts and all sorts of stuff. You can find us on Instagram, where we're most active, but we also have a Facebook page, a Facebook group, a Twitter page, and a letterboxd account, and you can find links to all of those in the show notes for this episode and every single episode, along with links to everything we discussed in our Culture Catch-Up section. So have a look at the show notes as well. It takes me about half an hour to write them each week, so I would appreciate people checking them out and using them. The links are there for you to use. So do it, and join us next week. And it's been a pleasure. Alex, anything to say? Thank you for listening. Thank you. Sorry about last week. We had a bit of a problem with our episode. If you listen to last week's episode and it cut out right around the time that Alex was talking about Amanda Bynes, please can you check the feed? And there is an updated version of that episode for you to check out that will have the final half hour or so intact.
Yeah.
So please do go and do that. Apologies for that. I will check the audio throughout the episodes in the future before we upload them, and it'll be fine. So, that's all good. And join us next week. And it's fantastic to have you with us as always. And I love you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.